All right, I guess we're live. Just want to make sure. Um, and we are live. All right, so good evening, everybody. I'm Dustin Coiner from TrackDaz and CRA here in Southern California. And another segment of Ask a Superbike Genius with Richard Stamboli of the Fresh and Lean Attack Yamaha Progressive.
Progressive,
Yeah,
man.
all that.
I can't believe after this much time you still can't get it
I
right.
still fuck it up every time. It's a mouthful, man. Like whatever.
Fresh and
See,
lean,
it's still off season,
progressive,
so it's Attack
Yamaha
Yamaha. Is it?
racing. It actually doesn't even
Yes.
have any attack performance in the name at all.
Yeah, it's presented by Attack Performance, right?
Yeah,
Kind of. Yeah. All right.
and
So what's up, Richard?
it's all
just had a
good,
little
man.
just had a little test last week, a couple of days with both the guys. So let's talk about it. Yeah.
Sure. What do you want to talk about? Ask some questions.
Well, you know what? You had Cam P riding the 600 the first day, so that was kind of different. So what's
Whole day on the R6, which kind of threw his rhythm off on day two, but that was okay. We needed to get that out of the way. So yeah, we went through a bunch of different things. And the R6 actually had taken the team and modified it a bit. I
really?
put my two best R6 guys, which was Will, which I think you had on last night,
Yeah.
and then Canfield. And Canfield, he takes really good notes. So I had him kind of manage that whole thing. Then I was able to go and be put on my engineering hat and go play engineer on the Superbike and
Nice.
focus on that. While Cam ran around with the R6, and like I said, we made some headway with that thing. He was super comfortable with it by the end of the day, and then we switched to Superbike on day two.
Yeah.
But spent the whole day with Jake in a fairly regimented test plan that was, you know, this, everything kind of fits together as you go down the list.
Yeah. So watching Cam on, I'm your timing bitch, right? So
Well, you were the timing bitch. You were
crash
like
truck
the
bitch too, man. I added
crash
in
truck bitch. You were like the lunch truck bitch.
lunch
You're
truck. Get the
you're
fuck
the
out of here with the lunch truck thing. Come on, man.
well, you
My
got it
name's not
pre-ordered.
Glenn. Come on,
Oh
man.
no, we made Greg the lunch guy last
That's
time.
right. It wasn't
Yeah,
me,
from
man.
Tappet. So he was the lunch bitch,
Right.
and
Yeah.
now you're like the promo bitch over here. So
Right.
when you have way too many bitch titles, you're just a bitch.
Yeah, that's great, Richard. Appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, thanks.
You keep calling yourself those things.
No, but so I'm in timing. I'm running timing for you guys. So there's live timing up on the app and everything, and
Yeah, there's
watch.
no BS going on.
There's no
There's
Joe
no
dipshit on
magic
this.
stopwatch.
Yeah, the super fast stopwatches are not existent at these tests, and it's really impressive watching Cam try to come to terms with the 600 again because he hasn't ridden it since Daytona last year, and I watched him getting a little greedy with the thing too, and
Yeah, he almost flipped himself off it, didn't he?
yeah, he had to check his shorts after that one for sure.
Well, remember we were on Daytona tires on a regular track.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, but we did mount it backwards, so the right side was the hard side. Because we were going clockwise,
Yeah,
and yeah, so that was fun. I'm glad he didn't smash it up, but yeah, he enjoyed it at the end. We tried a few
yeah,
different things. We tried new shock. We tried a few changes in the front end and some throttle grip stuff, and a couple different tires and some air pressures and stuff we learned from World Superbike.
yeah.
And yeah, so I mean all that stuff carries over, right? So
Right.
things that you go, oh wow, we can really run that on this bike, and so yeah, all that was a plus, and so looking forward to going to Daytona. Yeah, and you had Will on last night, right?
Yeah, I did. I did. We were talking about Cam P maybe having some surgical maintenance done.
Yeah, he's having he's got an arm pump issue, so he's having that looked at this week, and then he may not be able to make the next test, but he'll be good to go for Daytona.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I think he might have been today Wednesday. It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's having it done today. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'll give him a buzz tomorrow and see how he's doing. But anyway, so yeah, that was it. So you had Will on, and man, you're on like every day now.
Dude, it's not
When are
every
you,
just
when are you gonna interview our FedEx guy and give him grief about getting our packages here?
you know what, man? I don't know your FedEx guy, but you want me to have a one-way conversation with him, I will.
That's about it.
Yeah. So yeah, Will's a funny character on the team, and it's hard not to like that guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's
but
really
he
likable.
but he
That's the good thing
did.
about being our team. We have a real good cohesive team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's important, right? I mean, you guys spend so much of your time together. It would suck if you guys didn't like each other. You know.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of a strange. This is a strange job going racing. It's fairly high pressure,
Yeah.
and but if you know how to handle the pressure, then it's a lot of fun. And yeah, definitely, I would say that I'd rather hire someone I can get along with, that I can train, than someone that knows everything, that I can't get along with.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So that made
a
quite
lot
a
of
bit for me.
a lot of the times that the people that say they know everything are the biggest dumbasses, right?
They're full of crap. Yes.
Right. I'm being asked. Bearded Jixer wants to know if you guys are on the Pirellis on the R6 again.
That's the way it's looking.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it's looking.
They-
Oscar sent over some pretty good stuff, and I mean, I think Cameron went fast as he ever gone on hard tires, and I think it's looking pretty decent. So I think we're going to go with it, and hoping to do another World Superbike gig at the end of the year.
Right on. Yeah. Like it's the Daytona thing is pretty unique because it's the only super sport Moto America race that allows a little bit of a tire war.
I wish they allowed a little bit more of a war, like fuel, tires. But see, that goes back to my whole thing that I talked about. And I wish Moto America would adopt this, is that if you had a spec tire, which they expect you to do at Daytona, it's basically they have to say which tires they have. They have to what is that? They have to tell them which compounds they're bringing.
Yeah.
And every team has the ability to buy those compounds or be sponsored those compounds or whatever. So for us to go to Daytona, I mean, we can have the pick of the litter as far as who we want for a tire company.
Right.
That's the way it used to be in the old days. When you had Michelin, you had Pirelli, and you had Dunlop, and you might have had Bridgestone too in the paddock. Man, the pro teams hardly ever bought tires.
Right.
And my thing has always been, why don't you open it up? It'll be better competition between the teams, and make them bring a spec. That way, everyone can get it. In the old days, the Jim Allen days, the AMA days,
Yeah.
there'll always be the hand builds, the specials, the short run prototypes that the factory guys would get. Everybody else got the production stuff.
Right.
Sometimes they weren't any better, but most of the time they were. So it was kind of an unbalanced thing. But now I think the tire deal is pretty balanced. It's having a spec tire. I think it's good for competition, but also it makes us all buy our tires.
Yeah.
That brings the cost up quite a bit. If we were going to multiple manufacturers with spec, that would probably open it up for a lot of sponsorship.
Yeah, and bigger grids again, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you could save the tire budget, that would really free you up for travel.
Right, right. So I got a couple comments on here. We kind of already answered the Pirelli thing, but Ty Bangford, your favorite viewer, he says it's day 365 of him asking for a Superbike ride.
Yeah, I met that dude once, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Was that 365 days ago?
I don't know. Like, I think he's asked 365 times, maybe.
Oh, maybe. I don't know, because I think it was before that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple years, right?
I think so. I don't know.
And then Robbie Galera, I think. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but he wants to know if we're going to sell pit shirts again for the Daytona.
That's the plan.
I believe we are going to sell pit shirts again. The team has ordered the shirts that we're using for Daytona, and I'm sure we're going to have a pre-order thing up again pretty soon for those.
It's a matter of putting it up on the site, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we'll sort that out on the Attack Yamaha page at some point in the near future. And yeah, you could pre-order that. Likely you won't have your shirt by Daytona, but you'll have it after, and it'll be exact stuff that we're using. So I believe, right? Or am I crazy? All right.
No, the exact same shirt.
Yes, the exact same shirt. They're not they're not the same as the World Superbike ones, and they're not the same as the ones that we had at Daytona last year. We haven't even announced livery for Daytona yet, right?
Nope. There hasn't been
Yeah.
any real official announcement, period. I think
Yeah.
everyone's a little busy.
Yeah, maybe we should work on a press release or something.
Nah, there's people for that.
Uh,
I think Andrea wanted to
Andrea.
do one, but I'm pretty sure Yamaha Racing's been super busy with Supercross startup, and the Daytona thing is like, it's kind of a side gig for us compared to the full season.
Ty wants to know if he beats me at Podium Club, can he take my place as the resident slacker on the attack team?
I don't know what the resident slacker does, other than be a slacker.
Wow, dude. It's fucking rough, dude.
I thought he was gonna take over his timing bitch, maybe.
Or maybe he wants fire extinguisher, bitch. You know?
Oh no, that's another subject coming up, I'm sure.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah. Okay. So you
So
talked
back to testing.
yeah. So you talked about doing this regimented test. Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about what that means. Like I know you had a list of things that you went through, but you want to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
so
that?
basically it's a list of things that what happens is I'll sit there and look at the data after a test. Like so, in January we introduced a new swing arm, and here I got props this time, right?
Uh-oh. Richard's
So-
bringing props, everybody. Check this
I
out.
see the full picture. I don't know why. I can only see part of it, but you can probably see the whole thing live.
Yeah, you can see the whole
So
thing.
anyway,
live.
so this is it actually goes like this. This is the drive side. The chain goes through here,
Okay.
and so we're able to machine this one piece out of some special alloy, and then we weld it together, and then the thickness and the various sections and how it transitions on the ribs here will give it a flex character. So we kind of worked a little bit on that based on what we learned the last couple of years, and then then we went to track and we played around with the length, the swing arm length, the swing arm pivot position, and things like that. So the first test we gathered a bunch of data.
Yeah.
So all it was about was go ride, give us your negatives, positives. So the positives were shitload more grip, acceleration grip, but instability. So then we had to go back and look at that and model the bike and see what caused instability, pull up a bunch of data. And for us, it was, we could point to was a couple things. A, the track was pretty dirty. So when you did spin the tire, it spun fairly aggressive.
Right.
And two, the what we call the anti-squat wasn't because the way the swing arm link and the length and all that stuff was acting on the chassis. When you had the anti-squat was kind of fighting, there wasn't enough anti-squat. So there was fighting, the engine was trying to accelerate so hard, it was fighting the rear tire's ability to extend. And mainly when it was topped out. So it was really hard to see on the data because everything was pretty much against the top out spring.
Okay.
The top out spring is a spring on the shock that keeps the shock from going bang when the swing arm opens. When the swing arm drops under acceleration, or extends under acceleration, the top out spring keeps it from going bang. So once we got all that info and realized what was happening, and it was basically a tire would spin on the backside of a bump. And the bumps aren't small things; they're like big rollers, right?
Yeah.
Like coming out of that turn 2 area, whatever you call that
Yeah.
little hairpin
Off
thing.
ramp. Off ramp.
Off ramp. Okay, they got named. Why did they put numbers on the corner?
I don't know, man. We talk about this every time we go to Buttonwillow, though.
I can't remember any of those names.
It's like
I got-
off ramp,
Why
grapevine,
do you-
cotton corners, wheelie bump, bus
I
stop,
don't-
riverside,
There's
sweeper, Phil Hill.
there. There's some S's you guys call something. There's
The S's?
an off ramp thing we call turn 2.
Yeah.
And the last turn, I don't know what that's called.
Sunset.
Sunset. Okay, yeah. All right. Well,
Turn
that's-
one is sunrise.
That last turn going clockwise, and then that second turn going clockwise has a series of rolling bumps, right?
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
And so the bike has to accelerate over those, not lose traction, and especially when you're about, let's say, from 50 to 45 degrees in that range, where you're still turning a little bit and you're fighting for grip. And so we put together a test where we would go through a couple pivot height changes to see what our pivot height would, adding more anti-squat and how that would help with extending the swing arm over these bumps. And also, since we were running in that top out range quite a bit, we went through a series of top out springs, which meant John was in the truck most of the time. When you do a top out spring, you got to dismantle the whole shock and then
Yeah.
pump it full of oil. It isn't like doing a valve. The valve you can do basically with a thing laying on its side. You degas it, pull the valve out, change the shim, put the valve in, gas it again, you're done. But when you do a top out spring, it's pretty much a full shock rebuild, let's say.
Yeah.
And so he was pretty much in the truck, and we had a series of different top out springs we tried, and as well as swing arm pivot location, and we were able to maintain the acceleration and actually improve and have stability where the riders were pretty happy with it. And then after that, we went to some front end changes. Once we got the rear, we also played a little bit with ballast because we're going to design a new gas tank for the bike, and so we're going the next step, which is to move some of the fuel, kind of like what MotoGP has.
Yeah.
And some of the fuel closer to what MotoGP does, and with our limitations of being a street bike, and that'll help us with some of the braking and acceleration. So as we added ballast to where we think we're going to put the fuel, we had a positive there too. So we just kept doing that until some ballast in certain areas was they couldn't feel the difference. You couldn't see it on the data really, and other places was it slowed some of the action of the bike, and they were able to maintain that acceleration. The electronics were able to not cut as much, so the bike accelerated harder. So we're squeezing the crap out of this R1 because the other bikes are a newer generation motorcycle like the Ducati and the BMW, and they make a bit more power than we do, but we're able to accelerate so much harder that the power is irrelevant.
Right. Well, I got a couple more questions about your swing arm actually from people.
Yeah.
848 Evo wants to know if you're anodizing the swing arm when it's finished.
No, it's way harder to maintain afterwards. If you wanted to straighten it, fix it, do whatever with it, the anodizing just ruins anything you can possibly weld. You'd have to strip it, re-anodize it. It's not worth it. Any kind of scratch, it'll stick out like a sore thumb.
Right.
So no, we leave it raw, prototype style, and we use a decal over the outside of it, the whole thing, to put the number and the sponsors and things like that. So if it does hit the ground, you got to remember these things aren't something you're going to put in your living room. They're going to be thrown down the road a few times, and you don't want to be building a new swing arm every time you crash the motorcycle. If you looked at a Moto 2 bike up close, those things are like somebody took a sandblaster to them. The frames are all gravel rash, the swing arms are gravel rash, and
Right.
they just clean up good. Those guys are constantly cleaning them up. And same thing with these Superbikes. They get tossed down the road, half a dozen times a year.
So then, Irate Barry says he thinks the swing arm's aero hard, he thinks it would look bitchin' if it was aero hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. If we ever built a show bike, then that would be it. But like I said, it's not very conducive to racing and being able to maintain it.
Yeah, and Ty wants to know, I think everybody kind of knows the answer to this, but I'll let you say it anyway. But he wants to know if you're building those swing arms on your own with no external input from World Superbike teams or Yamaha directly, or do you get direction of what the World Superbike teams are doing and then build in from there?
No direction. The only directions I've used lately is Lego kits.
Okay.
Have you ever built one of those damn things?
It's been a minute.
65 pages. You get all these little parts. You're like, how the hell did I put this thing together? No, we don't get any direction from World Superbike. We compared some notes. We were at Portimao, and I don't get to see those guys very often. They're super busy, and I'm not the kind of guy who's always calling them every 5 seconds, asking them for advice.
Right.
Only time we ever kind of hook up is when they have some new software, some development software. We'll send them some technical notes and questions through Yamaha US, and then Massimo, their electronics guy, will pivot back to us. But I imagine if we shared a little more what we were doing, and they shared a little more, that I think the dialogue's open, but we don't want to be a burden to those guys. We're doing fine the way we are. They're doing fine the way they are, and compare notes at the end of the year. That's all good. But no, we do everything in house.
There you go.
We did test against one of their swing arms early on, like in 20.
Yeah.
And saw some benefit in what they were doing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing their bikes and talking to their guys, and some of the stuff that you're doing wouldn't even work on their bike anyway, because they're doing something completely different with the tank and subframe and everything else, right?
Well, the rider's tall. He's super aggressive on the brakes. But like I said before, we went to Portimao. we learned a lot about the differences between our tracks and that track, at least, and how to use that front tire. And so it wasn't a shocker, but we were definitely behind in the braking game. Where Top Rack's right on it, you know. Same with Locatelli and same with a bunch of guys there. They're just maniacs on the brakes. And so that's one of the things we worked on too, because we know there's a new Dunlop coming, and it's very much like that Pirelli, the 125 Pirelli. You know, it's very good tire. By what we could tell, we put a bunch of laps on the fronts, and it seems like it's going to step up everybody's game without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think a lot of track records are going to fall next year, without a doubt. They're going to go probably half second to a second faster at every track.
So I got a couple more questions before we start talking about tire stuff, but let's see. Let's just go to Jonathan White wants to know why do you think Yamaha Sepang Test, I think, and Honda MotoGP are going back to aluminum swing arms?
Yeah, I saw that. Probably a feel thing. It's got to be a feel thing.
Okay.
You know, the only thing you can think of is edge tire grip, you know, that type of thing, because that's when the difference in material is going to make a difference. You know, rigidity, I think you can get vertical rigidity with aluminum or carbon. I think the carbon depends on how thick it is. It may not offer the same type of feel when it's on the side of the tire. I don't know, I haven't asked, but I did notice that. And also looked like the Yamaha had a rib down the right side of it too, so that means they increased rigidity a little bit. I can't see the top section of it. I imagine if I was nosy enough, I probably could find out, but you know, through whatever channels.
Right. I mean, we had our little laugh about the weld on the MotoGP bike, right?
They're prototypes, you know. Nothing's pretty in prototype land. They're just trying to get it done.
And
Plus,
then,
you know, there's certain things, like certain alloys don't weld that pretty. Everything welds a little bit different. And so, yeah, if you're going to weld some 63 railing for some, you know, booth you're building for an AIM Expo, then, yeah, the thing, you can make it really, really bitchin'. If you're going to weld alloys we're welding on a swinger arm, it's a different animal. Sometimes they're hard to put together.
okay, so then let's see. Matt Testa, he wants to know if he can get one of those cool linkage kits like I've got.
Which one did you get? One of our links from the Superbike from 19 or 18 or something?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. The problem with linkages and selling linkages is you sell this $300, $400, or $500 part, and the guy will call you 20 times to figure out why his bike doesn't work. At the end, it turns out he doesn't know how to ride it, or doesn't know how to turn on the clickers or whatever. That's why his bike doesn't work. So there's always that guy, and it just hasn't seemed to be super profitable for us to make linkages. We have done them in the past, but you know, maybe since we have a lot of information for the Yamaha R1, maybe we can just give them a go-to manual. Here you go. This is what you need to do, and
Nice.
start there. And don't call us; we'll call you.
And Ty says, "Oh, that describes Matty. He definitely doesn't know how to ride it." Wow, dude.
Nice, a little bit of
Shots fired.
I
Shots
wasn't trying
fired.
to describe him. I'm just telling you the overall perception.
Look, I thought you were talking about me, except you know I don't call you. I just suck writing, and I whine
no,
about
I mean,
it later.
I wasn't talking about you because you don't ask for any advice.
Yes, I do. I don't have to because you just tell it to me.
Yeah, then I laugh at you.
Yeah, that too. Exactly. Okay, so then Ty did ask, do you think the swing arm design would change dramatically at all when you changed tire brands?
Yes, not dramatically, but yeah, there's a little bit of difference in the carcass flex, and with that, you know, you got to kind of match the edge grip of the tire versus the swing arm movement and things like that. You know, if you have an issue in that area, sometimes you can just put a different tire on it and you're good. You know,
Yeah.
I think the tires are getting a little closer to each other too. You know, like I think like the Dunlop's next step on the front tire, I think it's a lot closer to the Pirelli front. The Pirelli front used to be the kind of the mushy front that you couldn't ride back in 2002. A long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Now 6, 7, we raced them we had Formula Extreme and Superstock, remember? And AMA.
Yeah.
And Chaz Davies and Steve Rapp, they were always going for the hardest possible front tire that Pirelli made. whatever they called their SC3 at the time, or SC4. And the World Superbike guys at that time in the 6-7 range were complaining about the front. But now it seems like that front's pretty decent. I don't know how it is compared to the Michelin MotoGP tire, but it seems pretty good.
It's got that giant, that 125 front's crazy, right?
Yeah, but it still turns.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like the Pirellis of old where they were so soft that you'd be leaned over and the front tire would feel like it was peeling off the rim.
I remember when I bought my first Yamaha FZR 1000. What was that, 89? And it came with a Pirelli NP7 or something like that. Remember the P7 Pirellis they made for sports cars?
Yeah.
NP7. The thing had I think a 130 front. The thing was terrible. Everybody was raving about how good it was, and until you got on like a Michelin slick or a proper slick for racing, you're like, oh, this tire's terrible. So they've come a long ways for sure.
So there's a guy is 848 Evo asking, I think we've talked about you having an engineering background before, but he wants to know how'd you learn how to build your own swing arm?
It takes a few things, right? You got to put all
very carefully,
Yeah, no, experience is real big. Having the ability the engineering ability to even imagine forces and think about things without putting it all in numbers, and then applying it all to CAD, and then looking at all the FEA models and things like that. So it takes some of the expertise, the skill, and some of a little bit of talent too, being able to think about the dynamics of this thing and how it's working. So just because you have an engineering degree doesn't mean you're going to be able to design anything.
Right.
It just means you were a good student.
And if people could see what's behind your computer that you're talking to me on right now, they would see your behind your screen, the MotoGP bike that you made. That's right there.
It's to this side.
Yeah, if they could see that, then they would see your other big project that you did and scored points in MotoGP. So.
A couple points at Indy with wrap. So that one was a full frame and chassis. The whole chassis was made here at the shop.
Right.
And so that was a bigger project. It looks so dated now. The stuff we're able to design and make, the machinery and the programming just keeps getting better,
Right.
And the ability to draw parts. You can envision something, but if you can't draw it because the software won't do it, then it's kind of pointless.
Yeah. So let's you know what, I know you have a couple more props over there, but I wanted to talk
So when we talk about swing arm pivot position, then we're talking about stuff like this, so you have maybe this is an insert that we put in the swing arm pivot.
Okay.
See, so the pivot bolt goes through here.
Yeah.
And here's another one, let's say. You see how that looks?
Yeah.
See how this one's 0, let's say, and this one's like a 5, I think. So this can go up or down or whichever way, and that raises the pivot up and down. That changes your anti-squat number, and that changes how much torque you can put to the rear wheel without and still not have the bike sink in the back, let's say, under acceleration, still be able to cover, or extend the swing arm and lock it out like a bicycle. Let's say, like a mountain bike, you have a lockout.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work too good when you want to go over bumps, but it works pretty good when you're pedaling.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing. Your leg is the producing the torque like the engine. You're yanking on the chain, and if you don't have enough anti-squat, the bike will just sink and spin. So then the other thing too, here's another prop. We actually machined the frames. You see that?
Yeah.
To accept that insert.
Oh wow. So you can't just buy that insert and hope for the best. You got to send you your frame.
What's that?
So if a customer wanted that a capability, they'd literally have to send you the frame to do that.
Yeah, we only do them a couple times a year. We try to batch them together because it's kind of a big project. It's not really worth it to do one.
Okay.
So if we get like a dozen frames or something, then we can set up the machine and it takes a big machine and it takes fixturing and you got to be accurate. So it takes time to set up, and then once you do it, you can run through all 10 of them and make it worth it. You know, at least I think 6 is kind of break even. Anything below that is not worth it.
Yeah, you know, like
We'll stack up some of ours when we get them. We're getting ready to do some now, as a matter of fact, because we have our new frames for next year. And you know, people probably think we get new motorcycles every year, but generally a Superbike is a culmination of parts. So if you change a frame and change the swing arm and put a fresh engine in it, guess what? You got a new motorcycle.
right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see some people taking photos of a bike with Jake's bodywork on it at that show in Vegas.
Oh yeah, we sent up there. That was actually Cameron's bike.
Oh, was it?
#1 plate on it.
Okay.
But I mean, it's all the same. We've had one bike transfer from guy to guy. Depends on what gets smashed at what time.
Right.
You know, and the engines all rotate through, so it isn't like, ooh, you got Jake's engine, and ooh, you got Jake's bike. This bike is available for Jake. You put Jake's setting on it, and away you go. I don't know. Some guys are really finicky. Jake's not. Neither is Cameron about which bike's what. They
Right.
can pretty much hop on each other's bike and do the same lap time. May have to take them a lap to get used to some little nuance.
Right.
But if you put the handlebars where they're supposed to be, and you put the pegs in the same spot, which they both ride this exact same positioning, a little bit of change on the levers and handlebar angle, you're good to go.
So Maddie's already trying to get in on the batch.
Well, you got to send the frame because I think we got Flinders. I think we're doing some for ADR, and then we're doing our own, and there might be maybe one for Westby. I'm not sure. And I think we did enough for them last year. We did ours, I think, back in 18, and then Yamaha saw it and we were pitted next to them, and then they're like, oh, we would like those because ours is a pain in the ass. These are pretty easy because both inserts slide in from the outside, so you can basically change the insert to the pit wall if you wanted to. Push the pivot out with a axle rod, and then you put the new pivot on the other axle and you slip it back through, put the outside pivot in, tighten the nut, you're good. You know, so you can change the character of the bike pretty freaking quick. Probably our guys probably do it in maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Wow. I mean,
Whereas
yeah.
you have to put the swing arm out and, you know, undo some nut or something like that, put the thing back together, slide it together, and it's a pain in the ass.
Dude, Maddie says he's bringing a swing arm, bringing a frame tomorrow.
All right. We won't make any fun of him either.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I think you should make fun of him. At least give him as much shit as you give me. Damn.
I think we're you know, even keeled shit giver to everyone.
Oh, 100%. You gotta have thick skin to hang out in this crew here. So
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, if you want me to show you a little bit of MotoSpec,
Yeah,
I can show you what some of those adjustments do.
yeah, let's talk about it, man. We've been talking about doing that MotoSpec chat for a little while, so let's.
Yeah, I mean, this is like maybe a teaser
Okay.
because it's pretty involved, even though it's like a single page deal. But let me share the screen here. I gotta put on my Google glasses too, so I can actually see something. All right, you see it?
Yep. See it now.
Okay, so this is Super Stalker, I think from maybe Laguna 2016 or something. Right?
Okay.
So it came with all this stuff like stock offset. So all these things are settings that you would put in here, and
Yeah.
down here are the numbers it spits out.
Okay.
And then I just put up this chassis thing here just so guys can see how it changes. But you can pick like the front wheel rate, which is like how much force. You can pot the potential of force for the movement. I don't pay too much attention to that, but here's the front wheel force, and then here's maybe the rear wheel force, and it's kind of this particular bike. I mean, the OE linkage is a little goofy, but so here's like wheel shock ratio. This is like the linkage, how it works. It'll start off stiff, or it'll start off soft and go stiffer as it goes down, and then the Yamaha R1 kind of levels off and actually digresses at the end, which you'll never really get in this type of range. So I'm kind of running through this really fast, and then the chassis. So I'm gonna put on none so you can just see the chassis here. So when we're talking about swing arm pivot, what do we want to focus on? Swing arm pivot, that's kind of what we kind of worked on. Some top out spring stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is the rear settings here. And over here you have swing arm length. So that super stock bike, we pretty much ran it at the end of the stroke everywhere we went because there wasn't any length, and you've done that too,
Right.
on yours, and it's just better on the R1 to keep them on the long side. So as you experiment with swing arms, you go, okay, hey, long was good, so let's go really long. Let's go 650, and then you can see what happens over here. Your center of gravity. This little dot here is kind of like your pretend center of gravity.
Yeah.
This is where your wheel went. And let me just zero this guy out. So, but what happened when you did that? So you can see how the wheel goes down and the chassis comes up.
Yeah.
Because the wheel is sliding down the swing arm, right? It doesn't go straight across, sliding down the swing arm. So then the chassis goes up. So one of the first things that happens, this is your rake. So it went from 24.1 stocker, which isn't enough for a Superbike, to 23.83. Now you got a nervous bike. You know, you're under 24. It's pretty nervous. And your trail numbers, it's still a pretty decent trail number because you have this offset. And again, we can go through all this stuff at some point and talk about offset and trail and all these things that change. But it's a lot to absorb. I mean, it's like you'd have to do like a 10-part thing.
Oh, wow.
10 hours worth of discussion over it, because it's quite a bit of work. And then 2, you'll see that the swing arm slope, because the bike went up and the trail went down, you lost a little swing arm angle. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even with the same shock. So basically, and then over here where it says anti-squat percent, because you made the bike longer, your anti-squat went away too. You went from 102 to 99. And some Superbikes I've seen in the like 107 range or 105 range, So how do you get that back? So you go over here and you put in the swing arm pivot. Let's just say we machined you a pivot. You put in a 4. All of a sudden your swing arm anti-squat went up to 105, just like that.
Oh, shit.
But your rake still is no good. So if you had a rake kit, you can come back in here. This is all because you extended the wheelbase. One simple thing, and then you've wrecked the whole bike, basically.
Yeah.
Without making all the changes. I mean, you can lower the bike and get the rake back, so you can lower the rear of the bike, or you can pick up the front of the bike. So let's say we zero that thing. That's the front fork position, right? So if you zero the front fork position, now you've gotten to 23.88. You're still pretty damn shallow on that thing. So we make a rake kit, and we go with our triple clamp. So the steer axis angle here. So we'll just put in a 1 degree here, let's say. Now you've gone to 24.69, so you've gotten a bunch of that trail back. Now you're like 111. So you can see how balancing out all these various numbers gets you, if you understand your motorcycle, you go, okay, this is what makes me happy, and you have solid numbers for it, you can actually go and play around with some of these settings if you're given the tools, like a triple clamp set, pivot position change, a swing arm you can adjust length on. And people think, oh, Superbikes just have fast engines. No, it's about controlling the power and how applying it as strong as you possibly can. Because, I mean, if you hear our bike, it's still cutting. So if we're taking away 20 to 30% of the power, why do we want to make more? And that's what people don't understand. It's like, how could the Yamaha R1 be so damn fast? Why is it winning so many championships? Well, because the guys work a lot on how to make that bike accelerate, how to make it stop, how to make it turn. It isn't always about power. We're not a drag strip. Even a drag strip, you have to make the bike hook up, right?
I think you just made a new T-shirt.
Yeah.
We're not at a drag strip.
Yeah, well, nothing wrong with drag racing, but it's only one component,
Nice.
of what we do. We do drag race from corner to corner, so we kind of are. We
Drag
just
race to turn 1.
Yeah, you drag race from corner to corner, but you got to get a turn, stop, turn, and drag race again the next corner. So that's why you see MotoGP bikes. They're getting lower, longer, looking more like drag bikes when they launch the things. So all these things here make a difference. So that's what we played around with a lot. And then also because of the way the bike was reacting over the bumps, we played around with the top out spring. So we can have a look at this. So let's get rid of the chassis. Get rid of that, and let's go like, I don't know, rear wheel force. And this bike's not a great, because the bump stop or something here, it's not a great example, but you can kind of see. So this little dude here that has that little knee there, that little knee is caused by the top out spring. So the top out spring makes the bike softer near the top, and then goes stiff all of a sudden when it leaves the top out spring. So if you want to try they make basically top out spring wise, they make like a variety from Olin's. You can get a 100 by 8. You can get a 125 by 8. Those numbers are all Newton meters, like how stiff they are.
Right.
And 8 is the length. So if you go in here and you play around and you say, I want a 188 by 8, short and stiff. So look what happened to this guy. Let me just put this back to, so you can only look at top out springs and nothing else. Let's put this back to 606. And let's put the pivot back to 0. Okay, so now all the forces align except for the top out spring, which is here.
Okay.
So if you go to 188.8, okay, this is the gray one, not the black one. You end up with, right here, you end up with a softer, you go with a stiffer top out spring, you end up with a softer bike in the initial part of the stroke. So you think, oh, well, that's pretty good because I can go over bumps with it. Maybe, if the bumps are flat, you know, but maybe not because you're trying to apply power and that soft setting is not returning the wheel to the ground.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
then you might use more anti-squat to fight that top out spring. Because it's all a balance of forces, right? We're always going back to Newton, you know? Damn figs. But he understood all this stuff, right? So you're trying to balance the forces out. How much you're accelerating, how long that swing arm is, how much anti-squat you have, the top out spring, all that stuff has to work together. So let's just say then you went to a real soft one, a 100 by 8. Now you made the bike stiffer down here and less of a sudden. So up here, going this way is stiffer. The numbers are kind of on this side, but anyway, going this way is stiffer. Let me put the numbers over here. So rear wheel force. Okay, got some numbers there too.
Okay.
We'll turn this one off. It's a pretty handy dandy little tool. Canadian dude makes this thing. Anyway, so you see here's 350 newtons here instead of 150. That's a big jump at the top. And that's quite a bit firmer by just changing that top out spring. Or you might go 125. And then the other option is, you know, okay, so maybe I want this thing to get stiffer later. You know, I don't want it stiff all of a sudden like this. So maybe I can go to a 12 millimeter one. Now I made the thing softer a lot further down. So maybe I want to bring some of that back. And now I'm at the same position with 112 initially as a 150 by 8, but it's softer to a further range. But sometimes people think, oh, softer is better. But you know, when you're working with our guys, they want to be able to accelerate hard. You know, they're not looking for a comfy feel. You know, so you got to get that tire to return back to the ground and keep fighting for grip. So if the engine, you know, as you make the bike longer, let's say, and you make it grip more, electronics is going to say, oh, you're not spinning as much, so I'm going to give you more power. Because that stuff, a lot of it's closed loop, right? So if you don't spin as much, it's trying to always get to that spin target. And because the traction control gets that spin target, that's when the TC cut happens. So it goes, okay, I'm going to give you more power because you're not spinning enough. And so you don't have a big enough differential between the front and rear. So it actually goes and it adds more power naturally. So what happens when you have more power? When the thing goes from grip to slip, it's more violent.
Right. Okay.
As you make a bunch of grip, you got to deal with how you apply it, all these things you're dealing with, and how you apply all these forces. So it's a big balancing act, and the most important thing for us is seeing information. I mean, if we're gonna do anything, are you done with this thing? Any questions on this?
No, I'm tripping out on it, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, this is great!" University of Richard.
I don't know about all that, but you can go to a real university in Europe and learn motorsports.
There you go.
It just costs you a lot of money.
Yeah. So what does this software package cost? I mean, I looked it up online.
It's a subscription.
Yeah, it's 13.
I think it's like for the pro part. I think it's $1,500, something like that for the year.
Yeah, 1350 USD. Yeah, for the.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So, freaking Canadians making so much money. But anyway, he updates this thing all the time. So the beauty of his little deal, which I got to talk to him about it. I can't keep
Pimping him out for free.
props. But anyway, the beauty of his deal is he'll supply you with all the chassis numbers. So let's just say you have a Ducati and you want all the numbers. He'll go, okay, well here's the Ducati file. I think all that stuff's on his website. So he's making off subscriptions like everybody else does. You know, I mean, a CAD program's a few grand a year, and this is the thing. You go, wow, that's $1,300 a year. That's $130 a month. If you're going to go out and go race, you're going to burn tires. You're going to burn you're going to take your truck or your bike out there, you're going to travel, you're going to spend for hotel. Dude, $150 a month is, or, you'd spend that every time you went out if you had a successful weekend, right?
Right.
I mean,
Or
front tire.
more. More.
More, yeah.
More than
So
that.
information is super important. If this is it is my sport, so we're always talking about information. But if I was a guy coming in, I try to learn as much as I can and try to get as much information I can about my bike, myself, all that stuff, and try not to get distracted by too many know-it-alls in the paddock.
Right. Because
Try to really learn.
there's always that magic number guy that, the suspension guy at the
Yeah,
paddock.
magic
That's
number.
the guy that's like, oh, if you just use my stuff, you'll go 2 seconds faster, and there's no.
Well, if you're 8 seconds off the pace, you might be correct just by setting the preload.
Right. Set your
You go
sag,
2 seconds.
right? Set your sag, go 2 seconds faster, right?
Yeah, if you just go, if you just clank the wrench underneath the bike and tell them you did something, if I go 2 seconds faster.
Oh, clank the rich one, not even touch it. Just clank nice.
Dude,
Wow.
Carl Steyer, our old suspension guy used to do it at Pridmore.
No shit.
I have Jason would come in. I mean, Jason's probably gonna be upset at me, but whatever.
Whatever.
He would come in, and Carl's like, track's still cold. He would talk like that too. That's bullshit. I'm not doing anything on the bike. And Jason come in, I can't ride it. Blah blah blah. You're all right. I'll fix it. He'll take a wrench and bang it around underneath there a little bit, and go, okay, it's good. He'd come back in and go, yeah, I felt better.
Oh man. I mean,
No.
that kind of shows like how mental this game is too.
It's totally mental. But when you have two riders at a certain caliber and they both say the same thing, then it's not mental.
Right.
It's actual physics.
Yeah.
Like John and I argue about this. We arm wrestle quite a bit. And he's like, and John's more of like a mental feel guy because he was a racer, and I'm like the physicist, crazy mad scientist on the team.
He's
he's
the
and
Sherpa.
so we're always arguing about the direction of the bike, but it's good because it challenges both of us mentally. We're both mentally challenged.
I refer to you as the Superbike genius, and I refer to John as the Superbike Sherpa.
Definitely more on the mental side.
Yeah.
Like touchy feely, the rider's got to feel good. Or like, shut up, ride the motorcycle till it was like.
Stop being such a pussy. Like that's yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, so,
it works though,
his style works for certain things, and I think we balance each other pretty well as far as that goes.
So, got a couple more questions here. Irate Barry says, speaking of preload, what's the best way to approach that? Like, what parameters and factors are the basics?
There's no magic number. It depends on how stiff your spring is. Sometimes we will go to a track that's got certain character, and back to this whole top out preload, that top out spring. If you have a different top out spring, might have a different preload. You got to know where a feeling is good for you, and then as you change, you go, does it feel good and why? And if you have some data and you have some information, then it makes it a lot easier to go through it all. And it's hard for me to tell someone where to go with a certain number because I don't know how they ride. I don't know their bike. I don't know the shock. I don't know the tires. I don't even know what kind of gas tank they have and where they ride the motorcycle. Is he tall? Is he short? Does he sit on the?
I mean, I'll use Irate Barry as an example. He's like 5 foot nothing, weighs like 90 pounds wet, and rides like a ZX10.
Yeah. So, and here's the other misconception, right? So people say, "Oh, well, I don't weigh anything, so I don't need much preload." It's total BS. You need as much preload as you need to get around that corner to hold the bike up. And if you're light, you can go through a corner faster. You know what that means? That means if you're going to ride the edge of grip on the tire, back to the balance of forces. I keep talking about that. That means you're going to have to push down on the motorcycle with a certain amount of newtons of force to make that tire squish and grip and all that stuff, right?
Right.
That means you need a certain amount of spring to counteract that.
Okay.
And so the more grip you have, the more spring you need and all that kind of good stuff.
Wow.
So or a different linkage that ramps up faster or whatever the case may be. Again, with superbikes, it's so many components. When you ride a stock motorcycle, you have less components to play with. You don't have pivots. You don't have this. You don't have that. So here's an example. We were at VIR with that guy we don't talk about often, right? On that when I was helping him with the super stock thing, we won that championship.
Yeah.
We won a lot of races that year, and we couldn't get to right gearing because we'd run that bike all the way to the end of the slots, and that's where it stayed all year. And it didn't matter because we just opened the throttle more for the power, the torque side. So it didn't matter what the track was. We just ran one gearbox the whole time, one sprocket ratio.
Yeah, 43.
And we would just say, okay, it's kind of lugging here. We just open the throttle more because you couldn't use all of it anyway, right? You're on the edge of the tire.
Yeah.
So as long as the guy's carrying momentum, you know, if you were a little bit lower on the RPM, you just gave him more throttle, more juice. And then when you got up to the taller gears, you were fine. So the VIR, for one reason or another, we couldn't get there. We were up against the limiter in that kink right there, dropping down and turn 2 or whatever they call it, thing 1, 2 or something. You know, you go through, it's a kink in the straightaway and it drops down. So a lot of guys bang the limiter. We're banging the limiter pretty hard. So we had to shorten the bike because we had to go different sprockets. And to shorten the bike, I mean, you got to change a lot of stuff on the bike. We had to lower the front, you know, play around with it with a spring. We had to play around with a bunch of different stuff, and we used MotoSpec back then to make everything balanced out again, to make it feel like it was when it was long. And other than the fact it was wheeling more, it felt just the same. You know, so as long as you know where you're at and you know what your numbers are and you have some firm data, it's pretty easy to go there. That's one of the things that we, with our new swing arm, you know, we said, okay, we did this. Our swing arm slope is now this. Our anti-squat's like this. The flex is like this. This is a regimented list of things we want to do to combat that and make it better. At the end, it was a success because both riders felt super comfortable on the bike and they went some of the fastest laps they've gone.
I mean, what you're saying also kind of it's kind of backs up what you were saying at the last test, because at the last test you were saying that the riders were, I guess they were complaining that they had too much grip, but the lap time wasn't there because they, you know, the bike was, I don't remember.
There was multiple
Right.
things. There was the grip caused instability, so it was hard for them to focus on the exit, you know. And I remember going out to the corners because we started with the setting we left at, which made it better, but we went through a lot of different changes to try to get there, and some of it was the wrong direction. You know, so sometimes you have to try certain things that are in the wrong direction to make sure, check those off the list. So we know that doesn't work, you know, so let's not go there again. Or let's just keep that in our back pocket, say that doesn't work unless we change a bunch of other stuff to make it work.
So when you're testing, I mentioned it earlier before we went live, but I asked you is, you know, when you're testing this stuff, it's, you know, I was going to ask you, when it's not all unicorns and butterflies, right? Like sometimes shit doesn't work and you're like, nope, crossing that off the list, not doing that.
Well, that's why when you have a planned test, and you're not just, you know, going like this with the rider when he comes in and says something like, that's interesting. It wasn't supposed to be like that. Anybody who says those words lost the rider.
All right.
You know, you got that befuddled look.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot on. You've probably seen it on what's that show that they're doing, Motor America?
Yeah, Pressure to Rise.
Yeah, sometimes they'll go in the pits and you'll see a rider pull up, and the guy's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay, rider just lost all his confidence. So that's why having a regimented test, you go down the list. Even if you thought the thing was going to work and it didn't, at least you go, okay, thank you. Next comment. You know, down the list you go. So you have to have a plan.
That makes total sense. All right, so let's get back to the tires thing. I mean, at the test, were you guys testing on that new tire, or were you?
No, all the old stuff.
Really? What's up with that?
They're not available yet.
Okay.
Everybody's got the production gremlins. I guess, you know, the extreme cold over there. I guess they were saying that not all workers were allowed to drive on the highways because New York shut the roads down or something. I guess that happens over there when it gets
weird.
too dangerous, too snowy, and they don't want to be picking people up off the side of the road dead. So they close the highways, or they curfew or something. I don't know.
Because I've heard Bryce Prince talking about getting to test the new tire at some of the races at like Chuckwalla even.
Yeah, you know.
And I'm like, how is
I
Bryce
thought he
getting the new
did one or something. I don't know. When we did that test at Buttonwillow in November, was it November?
December.
When they did the Q5 launch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lose track. Q4, Q5, Q6. But anyway, so
yeah.
one of those Q tires.
Yeah.
When they did that, there was probably some leftovers from
Okay.
that production run. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm making excuses for Dunlop. Maybe they just didn't want us to have the tires. I have no idea.
They're trying to well, because they're afraid that you're gonna spend all the time coating them. That's
Yeah, between now and the first
yeah.
event, like 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna put them all.
Yeah, I mean, if you
We're gonna
start now,
go.
you'll be ready, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're gonna go to New York. We're gonna go to Buffalo. We're gonna coat all the tires in the warehouse
yeah,
as they come off the mold.
right on. And then there's a couple people asking if that new tire that you're talking about is going to be available to the mortals.
Yes,
I
I
guess
do
once
believe so.
they
We can
start,
talk to Dale Keeper or whoever.
yeah,
The
yeah.
idea is, yes. I mean, Bryce Prince out riding around with him. I think he's pretty mortal.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, he's like the top club guy basically in all the clubs.
I mean, he's
But
got a business out there too, out in the
dude,
valley there
you know what? Bryce actually just
in
closed.
Bakersfield, right?
Yeah, he closed on that Valley Cycles there, so he owns a Yamaha dealer now.
Yeah, I know. I remember
Yeah.
Will's. I guess Will's friends with him. I know he was on our. He was. We were helping him. He bought a Means bike after Heron won the championship. That guy won the championship.
Yeah,
Not supposed to mention his name. And man, they couldn't grab their ass with both hands with that bike.
yeah,
They did terrible on it,
yeah,
And Heron smashed everyone. Just comes to show you that it all depends on what the rider wants and the feel he wants, and probably had no confidence in his crew because they're all a bunch of yokels anyway at the time. So I remember I was in the truck and there was a whole lot of this going on.
yeah.
I'm like, why don't you guys quit reinventing that bike? Just put it back to when it was winning everything and learn how to ride it.
Well, I mean, he seems to be pretty switched on the R1 now. I mean, the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough laps. He should be.
I mean, it's pretty crazy at the club races. CRA had their first round for the season last weekend, and I was up in the tower with timing and scoring and race director basically, and I watched this Super Sport 1000 race, and it looked like the BPR Cup. It's like a bunch of those guys riding those things. So, he's got it figured out. He's got something figured out.
That's good. Like so, when somebody finds a comfort zone, I think that makes it better. But Chuck Walla is not exactly a technical track.
Oh, this is at Buttonwillow.
Oh, Buttonwillow is pretty
Yeah.
technical.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't go there anymore, so I just go to Buttonwillow now.
No, I just heard from Dale that Dale Kiefer, that is the Dunlop guy, that he was out there and he went like a second faster on the new tires or something like that. Something
Yeah.
like, a second faster he ever gone around Chuck Walla, and he beat Aussie Dave, which he never does.
Yeah, I mean, the character of that place, right? So,
Yeah, there's no character, and just lean it over. It's like a go-kart version of Big Willow.
okay.
No talent required.
Wow. I just,
I'm serious.
just so I don't get in trouble here. You said it, not me, right? Okay.
I said it, yeah. I was just saying that it's. I know Mickey's gonna be all pissed at me. I'll probably never get a chance to go there ever again. But it's what it is. I wish those guys would build a bigger racetrack. You can't take a Superbike there and learn anything. It's
There
just
you
what
go.
it is.
Wow.
I've
That's,
done it. I've tried. It's worthless. The info you gain is worthless for our tracks. Maybe it's good for that track, but you don't get any info that's worth anything at the national level.
So back to the test. The Cameron ended up riding the Superbike the second day,
Yep.
and they both riders ended up within like a tenth of each other.
Yeah.
41 something.
Yeah, Jake fell down a couple sessions from the end, and in Jake's style, and completely rode off the bike.
Yeah, it was. I had to teach the guys. They acted like a bunch of fucking rookies out there with crash truck duty.
Our crew.
Yeah, I was like, guys, it won't roll, so you gotta roll a tie strap through the rear wheel. So we drag. I had to teach the boy like John. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, Yeah, it's funny. He's been on the receiving end of crashing, not the put it in the truck end of crashing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been the guy with the helmet on, the gloves, going, "What do I do
Yes.
now?"
Right.
Yeah,
So-
it reminds me of and this is a long time ago. I think I was in junior high school or something. I went out to watch at Ontario. They used to have a racetrack, and they used to have right in Ontario. I don't know if it's a mall there now or what.
Yeah, I think that's.
Kind
I
of like
think.
Fontana, it's this big old speedway.
Yeah, I think the Ontario Mall is where the racetrack was. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had an endurance race, a Honda Ontario 6-hour, and Eddie Lawson was out there on Kawasaki or something, and somebody cut in front of him in the carousel, and he tagged the back of him and fell over. He was coming through the pack basically. He tagged the back marker, and so he fell over. And he just walks away all pissed off, and so the crash crew go out there, and the one guy's trying to pick up on the back of the bike. He grabs the tail, rips it right off the motorcycle. So that's crash truck guys for the most part. There's some good ones, but man, if your stuff's not solid, they might wreck. They don't know what they're doing with straps and all that. They'll further damage your motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, when your motorcycle's as fucked up as Jake's was, though, it's like it really doesn't matter at that point, right? Like it's more like get the thing out.
I mean, the gas tank, believe it or not, I mean it must have flipped end over end because the gas tank hardly got it.
Yeah.
Got a little scratch on it.
Yeah.
And it broke the dash off, sent it sailing like as usual, it broke the rear wheel, bent the swing arm, did all a bunch of damage. Back to the non-ano thing, that swing arm, we can put it back in the fixture, straighten it. The material we use is so good that you can bounce it back pretty good. And then, down to the thousandths of an inch and put it back in service again.
Yeah, I think the only real complaint after the strap through the rear wheel thing is the height of my truck. The boys were definitely stoked on that. But I'm like, dude, I had a truck out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't come in, so I'm like, I think it's worse than we think.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Jake crashing bikes. I mean, they're never very good. And the one at Brainerd he got away with, the one where he spun around.
Yeah.
He fell over and was able to race and finish and win.
Yeah.
Even though the clamps were bent and the thing was like off to one side and he still went out and won the race. Comes to show you that the guys are all finicky about their handlebars not being straight or this thing being perfect and all that stuff. BS.
Wow.
Jake can win with the forks twisted.
Yep.
But Cameron, he'll fall over and he'll pick it up like he did at Barber last race. Remember? Our first race, he won the second one, but he was kind of chasing Jake and he got a little anxious and he tipped over in turn 2. He's able to pick that thing up and finish in the top 10 or whatever he finished.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. Cameron keeps riding him and Jake comes in the truck.
Yeah, we gotta knock that shit off. At least he's doing it in the preseason. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, we're really, kind of like, fingers crossed that we'll actually be able to get a good first race in with him. Like 2 years in a row, we haven't had a good first round.
Yeah, I mean, he joked with me last season while sitting on the sidelines for a little bit, and he's like, "That's it. Next year, I'm skipping round 1."
Yeah, pretty much. Save us some money.
Right?
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So wrapping up the test stuff, at one point during the weekend, during the test, I strolled over to the garages, and there was this dust everywhere, all over the.
Let me show you some data before we get into that.
Yeah, let's talk about data.
Yeah. So people probably go, "How do you know that you're actually accelerating that fast?" Or how do you know it's actually better if the lap times are so close because the track is worse or something? So we analyze just about like every corner by itself, right? As its own little subgroup of the whole racetrack. So the area where we were struggling with was that, what do you call that thing again? Off ramp.
Off ramp. Yep.
Yeah. Final dust off the last corner. What's it called again?
Sunset.
Yeah, whatever. Off ramp and Sunset. Turn 2 and the last one. I think you can call it 10 or something.
Yeah.
So let me share some of this data with you, and then you can look at it, and then you can do what you want with it at that point.
Okay.
Window, this one. Okay. All right. Coming up. There it is. Right.
Yep.
See it? So this is all a bunch of gobbledygook
data.
Yes. Here it is. Like you probably can't see my mouse, but anyway, so you can see me moving that thing around.
Yes.
Yeah, so right about in that area, you got, let me see here. See this blue line?
Yes.
That measures the acceleration of the bike going forward. It's called the x-axis TC acceleration, and it's in G's. So it maxes out, the sensor actually maxes out 10 G's, and then it kind of goes down from there. So that's how hard the guys are accelerating, 9.88 or something like that. And then over here, the red was that qualifying big tire that we got in November.
Okay.
That he went a 40 with.
Right.
Blue-green is the standard tire. So you can see that we're actually able to make the standard tire a tick better on acceleration than the qualifying tire with the previous last year's setup. So this is kind of the area where we work on. This is what shows us some of the information. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can quantify what we did.
So
and then with that,
the new tire should even be better, right?
Yes, I mean, we had hours and hours, I could show you a lot more stuff, how the rear suspension goes over bumps and things like that. But we're not. It's a little bit confusing, some of it, so you have to understand what's happening to the whole motorcycle. But yeah, so with the new tire, we're hoping to. What we'd like to see is where the acceleration maintains. Let me move this over. See where the acceleration maintains in this area.
Yeah.
Up over the other one. The other one starts dropping. We've had runs where we've actually not dropped at all, and we've gone straight across from this point to that point.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're trying to focus on that and see if we can make it actually a little bit better in that, with that respect. So that's how we're able to look at the information and see what we got.
So I got some more questions coming in. Just before we continue on with the rest of the tests part that I was just about to talk about, but let's see. Like
you get notes and I get notes to mention.
Yeah, like how.
So Chuck Giacchetto from Westby sending us another frame to do because I guess I reminded him.
Oh.
There were frames.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey Chuck, go to sleep, man. It's late over there in Atlanta.
Yeah, dude. Like it's clearly way past Chuck's bedtime. Right?
Nah, sometimes he calls me pretty late at night.
Yeah?
I call him something, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Say a whole lot of stupid nothings,
Bearded Gixxer, Ernie, he's a racer with CRA as well. How long are wheels typically used? Is there like a certain number of laps that you guys put on them before you rotate them out?
That's an interesting question because we were just talking about magnesium wheels, and back in the day, you can only use them for a season. Now, it's just a matter of the wheels last. I mean, it's a matter of when they get broken, when they get bent to the point of no repair, and how the grip on the outside gets worn. And you could probably refab those things. I mean, you can freshen them up. They haven't been cracking, until you break them. They've been pretty damn good. It's really surprising. I mean, you're going to get some wear probably where the push drive drives it on the rear, and you're going to lose some of the grip around the rim that holds the tire in place. So, but some guys have been refurbishing their wheels because it's hard to get stuff right now. To get wheels, it's a long wait time. So we'll probably end up refurbishing a few of ours, put some new bearings in them, try to recoat the grippy part. But if it gets too dinged up, too scratched up, too wobbly, we toss it.
They become wall art at the painters.
Something.
Right?
Yeah.
I saw Matt's got one of them.
We do ours in before that,
Right.
Trebuchet style.
Yeah. Trebuchet, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could make a clock out of it and sell it, right? I mean.
Yeah, maybe even with a bent piece broken out of it. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. And then Ty says he's not going to lie. Pretty annoying that there's no Motor America Stock 1000 race on the West Coast this year.
They did stock 1000 in World Superbike.
Did they?
Yeah, because Mercado was the stock 1000 champion, but if you remember, we were there was no stock 1000s. It's super sport. They brought in the junior stuff, so kind of stock 1000. I mean, if you're gonna race stock 1000, it really should be in Superbike. Leader bike. Stock 1000's fun. They tried to do it as a premier class before, but nobody cared.
Right.
For stock 1000. I know a lot of people think it's cheaper, but why not just enter Superbike or Superbike Cup? Whatever those classes are. This kind of class within a class, and do it that way. But I think stock 1000 will eventually go by the way of the dodo, just like it did in World Superbike. But I don't know. I don't know what the great minds of Motor America and the planners are got in mind for the future.
Right, right. Let's see. What brand of Brand Green wants to know what brand of wheels the team uses. I believe you guys are
OZ.
using OZs, right? Yeah.
Yep, same ones on my Porsche.
Well,
Not the
there you go.
exact same ones, obviously.
Clearly not the same ones on the Porsche,
Dude,
but
I'm surprised how inexpensive they are for cars. At
yeah,
least they used to be. Yeah, they were cheaper than the damn tires.
no shit.
They're about the same price. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, there you go. And then let's see what else. Pinky was talking about data. He says, can we talk a little bit about the pros and cons of flashing an ECU and how does that compare to the race ECU?
The race ECU is just better. You know, the pro is you're going to get a pro setting up your torque maps. And so there's somebody who knows what they're doing, not a guy with a flash and some tables goes, I can fix you right up.
Right.
And, you know, that goes and adds a bunch of power to your bike and you can't ride it. Again, back to the conversation we're having about anti-squat and top-out springs and grip versus torque and all those things that we balance out to make the bike accelerate good.
Yeah.
Axis acceleration and blah, 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 all that stuff. Yeah, some yokel goes in and types in a bunch of numbers and removes that off your list. You know, then you come in and go, I don't know. Somebody named Dustin probably comes in and goes, I don't know. I'm thinking about not riding anymore because it's no fun. And
That's a
what
fact.
happened? Oh, I don't know. Some dude put an ECU in my bike. I can't ride it.
And you're like, you're an idiot.
The advantage of so if you want to go develop all your own power strategies, good on you. You can go flash an ECU and go through all that trouble. And but if you want a pre-built, you know, canned stuff that works, you know, the kit ECU is good. The problem is you don't have a kit ECU for every bike. So some bikes all you have is a flash. So you should have somebody that knows what they're doing with a flash.
Have they figured out how to flash the new R1s anyway yet? Like, I don't.
Some guys say they did, but it's probably just a few tables.
Right.
They've been able to crack into. I don't think Flash Tunes still cracked it.
They were talking about making their own ECU, right? I know there's.
Some guys just want to do that, but that's a bunch of trouble too.
Right.
And I mean, the race kit ECU is just so trouble free. It's just not, you know, if you can get it, we sell out every one we do. Like we're back ordered now, and the next batch is probably gone too.
Right.
And because we only order it, I think 3 times a year.
Right.
That's the way the race kit stuff is. You got to buy it in advance, way in advance, like 4 months in advance.
Yeah.
You know, and so then we try to stock up as much as we can. We always seem to underestimate what people want because we keep, we're out. You know,
Right.
A month from before the new stuff shows up.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about having a proper ECU with proper torque tables that you can just pick one. You go, oh, I want number 11. Oh, that was too strong. Let's go back to number 10.
Yeah. I've gone all up and
right?
I've gone all up and down that trying it, and it's pretty amazing what it does. And you know,
Yeah, different gears, different this and that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. So like those ETV tables on the Yamaha stuff are so key. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, the Morelli software, the latest stuff, Massimo and those guys at World Superbike, they built a bunch of tables like that are pre-canned. So if anybody's stepping up into our series that wants a Morelli system, you know, they're hard to get. You have to be a pro racer and you have to have a real data guy controlling it for you. But they have a lot of pre-canned stuff. You just say, oh, I want map 3 in that gear. Oh, that was too strong or too soft. We'll go with map 4. And it's a little bit wild at the end. So let's clip it on this particular clipping like you do with the kit ECU. And they have it all pre-canned. They did their homework. So same kind of guys that did that are doing the kit ECUs. So I think I think it's just too easy to just put it in and go. If you're a gearhead and you really want to play around with tables, you know, a bunch of numbers, then have at it. You're just going to spend a lot of money at the racetrack.
Right.
On tires and fuel and everything else.
Right. All right, so back to the test. You know, like I was saying earlier, I walked over to the garage and I saw dust all over the floor in the Westby garage. And what I didn't know, or what I missed, was what they later posted a video on their Instagram.
Yeah, that was Moto America was there interviewing.
Yeah.
You know, like pre-season thing.
Carruthers.
Carruthers was there and he was interviewing some people and I guess Matt Skoltz was getting interviewed, and all of a sudden this big fireball erupted on the Westby bike.
Right.
And I was on the other side. We're looking at some data with Marshall and stuff. And all of a sudden, Matt came running over and says, "Fire, fire, fire extinguisher, please, 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 fire extinguisher."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? Fire extinguisher?" So Fernando grabbed the fire extinguisher and went running over there. I see all the smoke come over because the garage is divided by walls, but there's like a little air gap.
Yeah.
So I see all the smoke and it looked like dust come over onto our bikes, like completely flooded both garages. And man, I tell you, the Westby guys were on it. They were on that thing with the fire bottles really quick.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was a polymer, a lithium polymer battery like you'd use in a drone or a remote control car or something like that. And it had some type of, I would assume it had some type of internal short, or maybe got dinged up in a crash. Don't really have all the data on it. And doing a little bit more research in what they were testing this battery, some experimental thing, I guess. And I think they may have run it a couple times before, but there's some advantages to that type of battery because the packaging, the weight. So everyone in motorcycle racing is trying to get their advantage, Oh, I'm going to put this battery on, it's lighter. Oh, it's flatter. It fits here better. I don't have to have a battery box looking thing to fit somewhere.
Right.
All these bikes are really, really tight with data and harnesses and things like that. So you're always trying to find some spot on the motorcycle to put something. We use up every millimeter of our bike pretty much. And so they had this lithium batteries on the side of the frame right near the regulator. But it's a lithium polymer, which is different than a lithium ion. Some guy racing down the street.
Shit, it's bike night, isn't it?
No, they haven't had bike night because it's been pretty cold. So I'm kind of glad about the cold.
Right.
A little bit cold, nothing like it is other places. I mean, we're wussies here in California, right?
Right.
It drops down to the 50s. We're like, oh, it's so cold. But anyway, so this polymer battery, I guess they had some type of problem with it. It might have got heat soaked and bloated. So I started doing a little more research online about polymer battery fires. It seems like that's a thing.
No
Even
shit.
radio control land. So I did a little research on what the temperature ranges on those things. It's supposedly not supposed to be in a container over 60 C.
Oh, wow.
60 C is nothing. I mean, a frame sees 100 C sometimes. The engine's 100 C, so the frame gets almost equally hot, at least
Right.
80 or 90 C. So maybe the thing got heat soaked sitting there. The bike wasn't running, it wasn't on a charger, it just all of a sudden spontaneously combusted. And then blew up.
Yeah, I mean, the Westby guys.
So I've since did a little bit of research.
Yeah.
And sent Motor America a note saying that I think they should consider not allowing polymer batteries in motorcycles. Because they're not, the way a polymer battery works, it's got all these individual cells. And all those individual cells add up to a certain voltage, and you're supposed to be within a certain percent of max voltage and a certain percent above minimum voltage. And otherwise, you either kill the battery or you overcharge it. So it gets bloated and might have a combustion problem. And the motorcycle charging system is not made for that. It doesn't have that special charger that the RC guys use.
Right.
It doesn't have that individual cell balancing this, that's a special connector that connects the battery. It doesn't have any of that. So the charging system is just going to keep on charging the battery. And if you have a cell go down, you've got a weak cell, let's say you have 16 volts and the cell maxes out at 4.2, and your charging system, your whole battery is like 16 volts and your one cell's 4. Take out 4, now if we have one bad cell, now the other cells have max out at 12.
Right.
And your alternator your regulator puts out 14.4. Now you're overcharging those things, and you're going to make an explosion because you have nothing there that's going to stop it from charging. The thing will keep taking it and bloating and bloating and bloating until it goes bang.
Well, the boys left them behind in the garage, and I ended up with them at the track, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with these? And
I would discharge them because you can't throw them away
right.
charged up and then toss them somehow, recycle them. I wouldn't use them.
I left them at the track.
Not on a motorcycle. If you have a drone, helicopter, and you got a good charger, you might be able to do it. But I've seen video of people crashing drones and having them spontaneously combust.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Or their little, off-road cars. The thing noses in, might hit the battery on a rock or something like that. All of a sudden, the thing will start steaming off. And once the steam's off, that means it's got an internal short, and all the polymer comes flying out. When the polymer reaches air, boom, fire.
I mean,
it doesn't need air to combust. It'll burn underwater.
They looked like no battery I've ever seen before. They looked like it was about, I don't know, about like that big around and
Yeah, a little oval thing.
about like that thick.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
that's the
looked
beauty of that type of battery is the packaging
it looked
and the
like
weight.
it looked like they dumped all the chemicals into a super tight Ziploc bag, wrapped it up in cellophane, and called it and put wires in it. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I saw
Battery in
one
a
of those,
bag.
I saw one of those batteries a while ago. And then I talked to our battery guy at Full Spectrum, Jason.
Yeah.
That's what we use. We use the Full Spectrum batteries, and he said, dude, don't run that battery. First of all, you can't even ship it anywhere without being in a fire bag, and you don't want to. You have to be very very specific about how you charge it. So we kind of went through all the negatives, and he said, let's just stick with lithium ion, which is what just about everybody uses right now. Even
Okay.
Tesla and all that stuff. Formula One cars. I don't know what their latest technology is, but as far as I know, they've been using lithium ion for their booster battery, one that gives you another 160, 200 horsepower on
Yeah.
the electric side. And those things charge fast and they dump fast, like really fast. In a lap, they'll go to full blank, no battery to full charge in a lap.
Yeah.
So that kind of technology, but they're using coolers on their batteries. They're putting the batteries inside nitrogen.
Yeah.
Stuff that the motorcycle doesn't have. So I think the best thing to do is make sure you get a battery at a reputable place that's made for motorcycles, that's been tested thoroughly, and just check that thing off your list. And I know that you guys aren't going to go down that path again, but
Yeah, I mean, look, fortunately everybody was there, right? I mean, that could have been really bad if that had happened while everybody was gone for the night at the hotel, right? So
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, what about if it was the truck was driving down the road,
Right.
or if somebody was pouring gas.
Right.
I mean, all kinds of things. They were out in pit lane and it caught a bunch of tents on fire. I mean, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff that happened.
Yeah.
It's not just the Westby guys. I mean, other guys who are doing that with batteries, they got to think twice
Yeah.
about what they're doing.
I mean, I just think we were talking about a trackside. I was thinking about that Moto E thing where it like basically wiped out the whole pit, right? Everybody in the
I mean,
class.
if you do enough research online, I mean, lithium-ion battery can catch on fire too. You pretty much have to drive a stake through it. You could cause an internal short and it'll blow it up and catch on fire, but it's nothing like a lithium polymer.
Okay.
And I mean the Moto E things, yeah, for sure. The whole battery thing right now, they're trying to push energy in the smallest possible package, and they're cut. They have to be very very careful about charging, discharging, and how they go about doing it. It's an interesting field that they're doing, and a lot of people get into it because of the whole car thing,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those. And you go on Amazon, they got tons of lithium polymer batteries all over the place, cheap. It's very tempting.
Yeah, cheap shit is still shit though. Like, that's a good policy to live by.
You have a special charger that can charge your battery, and then the cranking and the cranking of the thing, and the sudden discharge and the full charge from the alternator. That's what those batteries really hate.
Yeah.
They're made to be charged up on a bench somewhere under
Yeah.
control, and every cell monitored within like whatever it is, 80% or 90% of the full charge. Then you put it in your electric car and you go drive it around until it's slowing down. You take it out and put the other battery in and put that thing back on the bench. One of the first things they tell you about those batteries too is don't walk away from it when you're charging. I mean, come on. Do we all want to sit there and stare at our batteries while it's charging? No one does that.
Well, the people sitting in their Teslas do, right?
They sit in their Tesla, but that's a different battery.
Right.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
lithium ion.
Yeah.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
lithium ion. That's the big thing, but not lithium polymer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a comment from Tim P, and he's like, look, you don't know until you test, and that's why they call it a test. You can't really be mad at them.
No, I'm not mad at him at all.
No, not at all.
I'm just glad it happened in a relatively safe condition.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have happened on the racetrack. It could have happened, like I said, the tractor trailer. The guy could have been leaning over the bike pouring gas.
Wow.
What would you do if you were pouring gas and all of a sudden the battery went poof, start popping, and you're going to drop that gas and run.
Oh yeah.
Either
Yeah.
you're going to be on fire or the whole
There'd
bike's
be
gonna
fire.
go up.
There'd be fire behind my feet, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but those guys are really, really fast with the fire extinguisher.
They were, man. They definitely.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think we're going to call them the Westby Fire Department.
Yeah. Yeah.
I even have a logo. I mean,
You have a
for
logo.
them.
Maybe they'll wrap it on the side of the semi. What do you think?
What do you think? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the logo. Don't be upset, Chuck. I know he's really sensitive about this.
God damn it!
But
Here we go.
yeah, let me share.
You know, I'm gonna have to make Ed a fireman shirt or something, right?
Yeah. So all right. Let me see here. Where are we at?
You send me that. I'll make sure I get it by Daytona so we could give it to him.
Can you see it?
Let's see. What do we got here? Oh my goodness.
Look at it. It's gold and black, just like the bike.
Oh, dude.
It fits so perfectly.
Jesus.
I mean, they're so fast with that with those bottles. I'm like,
They are, dude.
They put that thing out quick. There was hardly any damage on the bike.
You should send me that, and I will make Chuck and Ed a T-shirt with that on there.
No, you should get them all hats, like little fire hats.
Oh shit! We could go to the toy store and get the fireman hats.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Chuck's gonna hate me.
Oh, you know Chuck's gonna choke me to death when he sees me too. I'll have my sticker guy make stickers for that too. We'll pass them out. Oh my god.
That's my poor skills in Adobe Illustrated. Just take two logos and stick them together. Took all 2 seconds.
That's pretty great, man. That's pretty great. And you know what? Like the fact that nothing happened, we can kind of laugh about it now.
They have some wiring problem. They burnt up their bodywork a little bit, but for the most part, I thought it was a fuel fire. Like they had a leaky gas tank. But even then, I'm like, how could that happen? Because usually you need a spark.
Right.
Yeah, that thing just went up by itself. It's super scary.
Yeah.
The fact that you're driving around with a bomb underneath you the whole time.
Dude.
Like, I would not take those batteries you have. I would ditch those things.
Oh, I didn't keep them, man. I left them at the track, dude.
Oh, no. Some poor guy. There's video of a trash guy throwing the trash away. And as they compact the trash, the thing goes boom in the trash truck.
So, this is fucked up. Maddie says that I'm just mad that I'm just jealous that I didn't get a chance to put my fire extinguisher skills to the test. Wow. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. That was scary.
I mean, there was a lot going on, and obviously, if it's your team, you'd be kind of upset.
Oh, 100%.
A chuckle with it, but you know how many times I saw our front end flying through the air 3 stories up? Every time they played, like the prequel to the next race, and then Jake has a crash. Here's our front end flying through the air. We'll write off $40,000 right there,
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's just part of the sport. The guys are going to report some of the good and the bad, what's happening in testing. I remember, what do you call it? I think it was Tech Trois on the Yamaha. They had a battery problem with one of their bike starters.
Oh.
At Coda, and set off the sprinklers at Coda, and it flooded their whole garage area. They had like water in their toolboxes, and they had left that thing on charge and went home, and the thing caught on fire. Wow. I don't know what kind of battery they were using. I remember that guy who made those starters. It was a pretty cool starter, little carbon fiber, and had a very small power pack. So who knows? Maybe he was experimenting with some polymer stuff too.
Wow.
But it almost burnt down the garages.
That's
of MotoGP.
Scary.
Luckily, they have a really good sprinkler system at Coda.
Yeah.
That's when they were Yamaha.
There's no sprinkler system but the Buttonwillow garages, right? So.
No.
No.
Metal roof though.
Yes.
Yeah. Luckily, there's not too much fuel there, inside that battery because it's a very small package.
Right.
It makes a big fireball. Yeah, and then they were hitting it with the extinguisher, I guess, a lot, and the thing would not go out. So somebody finally grabbed it, threw it outside, like pulled it off the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that one in my hand, and I was like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't be touching this.
Yeah, probably not.
So you got another test, next week, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. So
what are we testing? What are we testing next week?
Well, I got props today, right? So next week we'll be trying this little baby out.
Oh.
fresh in from Suter, since now we're all legal, to use these baskets. Pretty damn cool. Look at, they polished all the gears.
Nice.
It's all billet basket. Backside, look at the backside. It comes with titanium screws. This is and the actual gear hub is all lightened.
Nice.
This is almost a pound lighter than, for you guys to talk English, this is almost a pound lighter than the stock basket. And it doesn't have the springs in it, so I'm thinking we're not going to have as much stuff coming off this basket. Because we always, find a little bit of wear items in the filter and the pickup screen, and that's stuff, like the springs moving around and getting worn, and they're always flaking something off. So pretty cool little thing. We'll see how the acceleration is. We'll go back to our x-axis acceleration and be able to measure.
And it's still a wet clutch, right? Like there's a.
Oh yeah, it's not a dry clutch. You're not allowed to do that. But all it is just a basket. You replace the exact stock basket. I wish I had a stocker here to show you, but I don't.
Insert Matty Testa wanting to order one of those too, probably.
Yeah, probably. Why don't you just buy one of our Superbikes at the end of the season? He'll be happy.
Dude, he should. He should.
Come on, Matty. Go rob a bank or something.
Yeah, that. Get another Grammy, dude. Maybe they'll give you some more money.
Yeah, something.
That's, he's in that world. He's like in music and stuff. And I know he's a producer, and I think he's a Grammy Award winner.
Is he?
So, yeah.
You can afford a Superbike.
Yeah, there you go, Matty. You can afford a Superbike. Stop nickeling and diming with the stocker.
He'll eventually pay that same amount of money. It'll just be in pieces.
Yeah, right. All right, man.
Yeah,
well,
this is a pretty cool little deal, though. We're glad to have a go at it.
Right on. Well, I guess I'll see you guys at the next test before. It's the last one before Daytona, right?
Yeah. Is it that time already? Oh, it is 8 o'clock. Holy crap, that went by fast.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
All right.
All right, man.
Back's telling me it's time to leave.
Yes. All right, Richard. Well, thank you for your time and talking to me and talking smack and stuff. So I guess I'll see you at the test next week.
Yeah, man. It'll be fun.
All right.
With our one rider.
One rider. So no chance Cam's going to make that one, huh?
I don't know. I'll find out tomorrow. But, you have surgery on your wrist or forearms or whatever. I mean, it's more important that he's 100%.
Yeah.
Because we see it in the testing that he can go out and he can do the lap. The guy's super talented. He can do the lap. Same as Jake.
Yeah.
Just can't do it every single lap. And I know that it's been an issue to be super consistent. So anything you can do to make it better is I'm all thumbs up with for that.
Right on.
So I'd rather have him healthy for Daytona than go out and do one more test.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yep.
Well, cool.
Man.
All right, man. Well, see you at the test.
Later.
Later.